But yeah, this also woke me up. You know, like if we're not following the Constitution, that's the basic premise of this whole thing. We're not following the Constitution. So that's another thing that libertarians advocate, because it was the founding principles, and we've strayed away from it dramatically. Nobody even really realizes it unless you really research it. You just have to look into it a little bit. It's an easy document to read. There's only about 4 pages to it. I printed it. Oh, sorry. You know, this is in text, but this is the Constitution. It's only about, I'm sorry, about 20 pages long. That's not all that long. You know what the actual code of the United States really is? It's about, I forget what it was, but it took up a whole wall. There's bookshelves of the United States Code, when the actual law of our land is actually only about 20 pages. And it says it inside of it, too. This is the supreme law of the land, the Constitution. Why don't we follow it? Well, anyway, when we come back, I'm going to have my good friend Johnny Zavalia on, and we're going to talk about, well, whatever we want to talk about. We'll be right back. So welcome back. This is Currency of Democracy. I'm Josh Davis, and I am with John Zavalia, and
hey, pal.
He's one of my family friends from Salem.
Way back.
That's right, yeah.
Tell your mother and I.
Oh, yeah.
From 5th grade on, went to school together. Your mother and I went to 5th grade on.
Yeah.
When I had a cooking show in Salem from 2001 to 2005. Plus, I'd appear on election night. You were on the cooking show,
right,
behind the scene.
That was just some guy.
And now I do a show called Topics of the Town in Danvers.
Right.
And you're behind the scenes. And I'm usually sitting there.
Yeah, I took your spot.
It's weird.
I liked it.
But you did talk to me about a year ago about this show, doing something about the currency.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, myself included, we have an inkling about what the currency is. We know there's a Federal Reserve Board, but right, the houses and whys-its, I know it was established in 1913.
Right.
But other than that, and they set monetary policy, but other than that,
yeah, everybody's oblivious.
What's the house? Yeah, we are oblivious.
Right.
For whatever reason.
Right.
You hear who the chairman is. There's 7
right,
people. I didn't know this till today. There's 7 people on that board.
Oh, you researched it.
I looked on
That's
Wikipedia
good,
real quick today.
That's great.
There's 7 people on the board, but that's about all I know.
Yeah, I just found out last week that during the H.R. 1207 hearing last week, yeah, the Senate approves of them, and the chairman is actually appointed by the president, and the Senate actually approves him, you know, after the fact.
But
I think
you always hear of the chairperson, or those
right, yeah,
Greenspan, Vulcan, or whatever,
Greenspan,
Bernanke. But
yeah,
can you name the others? Because I can't.
No, the governors
It's
and
like
everybody, yeah.
You hear about that one number one. You never hear about the other 6,
right,
ever.
Right.
In my opinion. Okay, so what are they? What's going on here? And most of us Americans, really, that's all we really know.
Yeah, and I just found out that every governor, that's the Board of Governors, you know, that they have 14-year terms, and they are cycled one at a time every 2 years.
I thought it was 7. I thought it was 7.
There's 7 of them, but they have 14-year terms. So, you know, every 2 years there's someone being cycled out and someone cycled in. So, but yeah, they're there for 14 years, you know, at our private bank, you know what I mean? Like, you know, who are they? Yeah, you're right. You know, there's, you know, a certain amount of, or there's 12 banks, one in Boston, for example, and in D.C., you know, and so there's,
like
10 others.
all over the country.
Yeah, exactly. They have.
Okay, help me out here. Why? Why is there one in 12 sections? I don't
even know.
To me, there would be a Fed Reserve for everybody.
Right.
But why do you need them? Oh, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's the bank. Some people call it a cartel because there's 12 of them, all doing the same thing, you know, and they're privately owned, but they were enacted by Congress. You know, it's kind of sketchy.
But they call it like quasi-public or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But to me, they're public because the president appoints them.
Right. That's the political side.
They're like
of
an is it like they're an overseer of monetary policy, correct?
But not really just that, because you know they issue money to banks. You know, I mean, I guess that is monetary policy, but
And they
they're
cut- they cut
they're
the-
the only ones allowed to make money.
They make the interest rates, the prime rate, go up or down.
Right.
Could
And
you make
that's
it? I hope
ins-
they would make it go down about 1% so I can refinance, please.
No, no, it's just two banks. So, no, that's the payback rate to the Federal Reserve. You know, it's actually they're making loans to the banks, and then they have to pay the Federal Reserve back in interest. So that's the other part of the that's the banknote problem. You know, that's a banknote. You know, they're issuing notes to the banks and then bringing them back.
Now, I looked up libertarian
Yeah.
a little while ago.
Oh, okay.
And it says it ranges a wide spectrum of political
It
views.
really is, yes.
It could
but-
be almost very liberal to very conservative.
That's true.
But the libertarians I've seen or heard over the years are, for the most part, very conservative.
Right.
I don't see very many
When it comes,
liberal libertarians.
well,
They
no.
don't want any government for the most part.
Right. Yes.
Okay, but here's a question I have. In the '80s, the guy I used to work with, he makes Rush Limbaugh look like a liberal.
I'm
That's
sure.
how conservative
really?
this guy was. Oh, unbelievable. Guy from Quincy.
Okay.
And he said how there was too much government. I always remember this.
Oh, yeah.
There's too much government. And I said, okay, Frank, then we should get rid of Social Security. Oh, no! So here's a guy at one time saying there's too much government, but when you say, okay, let's get rid of Social Security, oh, no!
That's backwards.
I've saved for that. So
Yeah.
where is he making any sense about...
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Because, in my opinion, people will say, I'll give you another great example. A
Sure.
guy I knew, I used to work, again, with Boston. There used to be 7 of us that used to work at a computer help desk, New England Life Insurance Company. 3 of us were left of center. 3 were right of center. 1 guy was right in the middle.
Huh.
One of the right of center guys, who would always say less government, less government, less government,
Right.
he served our country in the Army.
Cool.
He went to college on the GI Bill, paid for by the government. He got his loan through, like my father did, through a VA loan
Right.
from the government.
Right.
And then when there was some big accident at some chicken processing plant down in North Carolina, this guy says, that should never happen. The government should be investigating it. And we all started laughing because here's a guy he always said less government, but government paid for his education,
Right.
got his house.
Well, who's going to not take
What I'm saying
a
is,
handout?
when it comes to a point, people will say they want less government.
Right.
A lot of times, government forms things because private industry or business or something isn't being done. I'll give you a great example. OSHA. Problems on OSHA is the workplace accidents.
Oh, okay.
That was formed by the federal government. The federal government, the Environmental Protection Agency, because private industry couldn't or wouldn't police themselves, and the government has to come in. A lot of
Well,
times,
yeah,
if
you
you
have
look
to
through
police-
history,
yeah.
Social Security, people, they would be out in the poorhouses back in the 20s, or even before. So Social Security gave them a little cushion in the 30s.
Right,
I'm
but
just-
whoa.
Okay.
Hold on. Social Security came about because of the Depression, which was created theoretically
But
by the Federal
even
Reserve.
before the Depression, you had the haves and the have-nots, and there wasn't too much of a middle class. And if you saved money all your life and worked hard, but then you got an illness or something before Social Security, you were wiped out. And you hope there was family and friends that helped take care of you. There's more of us with the Social Security and Medicare. Medicare's another good. People had no health insurance after they stopped working.
Right.
And Medicare was founded in the 60s finally.
But
for people.
the only reason why these things were created is because of the Federal Reserve. The only way they can pay for it is by printing money. That's the only way they could do it.
What I'm trying to say is when people want less government, you say what, and I'm not for everything should be government, but if you look, whether it's Social Security, Meals on Wheels is government.
Yeah.
A lot of things that help you are government. And someone's going to say, oh, you liberal this. No. Someone has been helped by the government. Do you ever hear of Phil Gramm? He was a senator from Texas.
Right.
Phil Gramm ran for president against big government, okay? Phil Gramm was born, his father was an Army officer, I believe. He got scholarships through the government.
Right.
He was a professor at a state school. He was a congressman and then a senator, and his wife was head of a regulatory agency. So here's a guy all his life ran against big government, but big government supported him from the time he was born, and I think he's still alive. And he's got a nice pension from the government he doesn't want.
But that's
so
why
much.
nobody's against it anymore, is because you start to see that you're...
Wait,
wait.
You don't find it hypocritical? The guy who
That's
campaigns...
the whole thing. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
He campaigns against less government, but government has either supported him, paid his salary over the years, and his wife's salary.
Right.